We will start the way that we normally do. Welcome everybody. In the interest of time, because the speaker is going to come in for an exact amount of time, let's get started. So I am going to ask, I'll ask Innocentia to read the sister's prayer for us. I'm asking Innocentia because she was the first mentee. Actually, she was the first person to log in today. Innocentia, is that okay? No, it wasn't Innocentia. It was Ntebogang, actually. Yeah. Ntebogang, are you there?
Looks like she's fallen off.
Oh, who was next? I'm trying to remember who the next mentee was.
Tahira.
Was it Tahira? Okay, Tahira, can you hear us? Are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Okay, my love. Just 1 minute. We will all, the rest of us will all mute, and we will allow you to read the sister's prayer for us. 1 second. Okay, go for it. Tahira.
I am my sister's keeper. I will build my sister up, encourage her, empower her, and pray for her. I have no reason to talk about her, tear her down, be jealous of her, or compete with her. I am going to stand behind her and help push her into her destiny.
Thank you so much, Tahira. Yeah, by the way, sorry about that. I'd actually forgotten to record. I just remembered to hit the record button. Okay, welcome to everybody. This is our last and final session. We've started a little bit late, so let me just lay out what it is that we are going to be doing, and then we get started so that we're in time for the speaker. So we're going to do a bit of a reflection. What did we talk about in session 5? So the mentees, put your hat back on. What did we talk about in public service, running for public office? And then we will do an introduction into what session 6 is about, ethics and values. And then we shall have a speaker, Ms. Fasiha. She will tell you a little bit about who she is, and you will understand why we brought her here. And that will take us to the end of the hour, to 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, because we're very few, we are not going to break into circles. We shall stay together. This is our nice one big circle, I think, that we enjoy. We will have a role play. The mentors have prepared something special for you guys, for us to have a little bit of fun, but to also be able to make sure we know the key messages from the session. And then we shall have our graduation ceremony. So we will share some of the memories with you. We shall call out the certificates. Each of the mentors will be allowed to say something, because this is the last time we're here together as the Westbury girls. And then we shall close it off. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So maybe we start there. Who remembers what session 5 was about? What did we talk about last time round? What session was it? What was it called? Come guys, this is your last session. So Tahira, Lemiz, Shireen, Kylie, please switch on your microphones. And yes, let's talk. Jabulile, who remembers what session 5 was about? Jabulile, you want to go for it?
No.
No.
Oh. Okay, now I was just checking my mic because I'm having difficulties.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay. But I think the last session was, like you mentioned, running for office. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay. Was running for office. I think it was just trying to tackle why it is that not a lot of women run for office, and trying to find out what it is we can do to encourage ourselves to enter those spaces.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Then we had Kylie. Kylie, you were giving the thumbs up. Do you want to unmute and you tell us what you remember? Kylie? Go ahead, Kylie. We can't hear Kylie. Who wants to go next? Who remembers anything else? Jabulile has just said it was a session that made her reflect on the fact that it's time for women to step into leadership positions. Anyone else remember anything? Ntebo Khan? Hey guys, what's happening? Shireen. Huh? Okay, Innocentia, were you? I think Innocentia wasn't here, yeah?
Innocentia wasn't here last week.
Yeah. That's my reminder for the recording. Okay, anyone else? Who was here last time round? Ntebogang has dropped off again. I think she's having problems.
Tahira was here last time.
Okay. Huh?
Tahira?
I think Tahira was here. Could someone just do a check for me? Who was here last week? Either Andiswa or Kini. Who was keeping track? Okay. Okay. I can't do much else. I mean, but I'm hoping that Tahir, let's at least do a microphone check. Could we see if your microphones work? Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to have a discussion. So Tahira, yes or no? Can we please all unmute for now? So that we can make sure. Tahira?
I remember the last session being about running for office and for leadership in service.
Mm-hmm. And what exactly do you remember? Tell us one or two things you remember. I think you actually had a good idea. Tahira?
I remember about having like a service for your community or something, and for leading the people around you. And, that's all I remember.
That's all you remember. There was someone who actually, there were two people who had projects. So maybe if someone else can speak, or someone who was there, who remembers the projects that were proposed? Yeah, no one remembers? Maybe the mentors remember? Maybe someone can jog our minds?
Okay, one project that I remember was the one, I'm not sure if it was Jabulile's. Oh no, it was not Jabulile's, because Jabulile's was Unite Cards.
Yeah, we can't hear you in Tebogang. I don't know whether you're
I don't remember who it was for.
Okay, tell you what, Tebogang, we can't hear you clearly. Maybe you put it in the chat box. You also had a very good observation. Yours wasn't about a project, but I remember you said something really good. Okay. Okay.
I'll put in
In the chat box. Tahira, I knew you were the one who had a project. It seems you've forgotten your own project.
It was Tahira.
Tahira, do you remember your project? Do you remember what you described? And Jabulile as well. It would be nice if you also just remind us, because this is when you tell us how we can help you. Tahira, do you remember?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't remember anything.
Do you remember you said something about sanitary towels, and you queried why condoms are given free? You still don't remember?
No.
Okay.
We the old ones, we're supposed to have forgetful memories, not you young. Right?
Okay, and then Jabulile, I think you shared with us something about your family. Do you remember that? You're on mute.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, I do.
What did you do? What was your project?
Oh, we were supposed to do the family tree. I remember, but we couldn't because there's just been a lot of things happening, especially because we have family members who are in hospital.
Mhm.
We have one who passed on last week, so there's just been a lot of things happening. So we haven't been able to really, focus on doing things like that. But I remember that we did have to do the family tree.
Our condolences for the loss of your family, and for those who are in hospital. A number of people are in that situation because of the circumstances we're in. But don't worry, it wasn't for you to have done and completed within 2 weeks' time. It might actually be a project that takes a number of months. So the trick is, all we're asking is that you keep it at the front of your mind. Even if this is the last session, if you want to reach out and ask people, what does it take to build a family tree? How would I go about it? We remain available to help you. What we are hoping is that you don't forget the idea, right?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks a million. Sorry about that. Okay.
But thank you for joining us as well. It's so wonderful that you choose to be here when you're going through a tough time, and you're amongst people who really value you and care for you during this time.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to ease into what this session is about, and I am going to share my screen with you. And someone please help me manage the door so that is not it's not distracting me. So session 6, why is it even an important session? So session 6 is about ethics and values. Okay. So it's about being able to have an ethical perspective in everything that we do. Who remembers what the first session was on? Any of the mentees? Please try and leave your mics on so that we remember. Does anyone remember session number 1? Does any of the mentors remember?
It was about building trust.
It was about building trust, right. And what was the second session about?
Courageous leadership.
Courageous leadership, thank you. What was the third session about?
The art of communication.
Thank you. And then the fourth session?
Negotiation.
Negotiation.
Thanks a million.
Advocating for yourself and others.
Thank you very much. That was number 5. So the idea of ethics and values is that in all those things, when we are building relationships, when we are becoming courageous leaders, when we are communicating, when we are negotiating, and yes, when we are running for public office or doing service in our communities, we need to do so from an ethical point of view. But there are going to be times when we are going to face moral dilemmas, and we're going to be talking a little bit about it. Moral choices that we have to make, and that is when you fall back on the values and the principles that are important to you. And you're facing a moral choice when you kind of have those conflicting feelings, and we're going to get into it. And it's okay to feel this way, to say, I don't know which way to go. I don't know whether to say yes. I don't know whether to say no. It's just part of life. It's going to happen at many stages in your life. And that's why this module is very important. And in fact, that's why it's the last closing off module. So as leaders, because you guys have started stepping up, you've started taking initiative, we sometimes have to make difficult decisions. When you're a leader, you can't just be on the side. You're the one at the front, you're leading, which means that you need to be making decisions. But often we are conflicted because sometimes we feel that the decision we are making is not necessarily the right thing to do. So it's going to happen, and you need to be prepared for it. So I'm going to ask the mentees at this point in time. You've got your notebooks. You don't have to tell us what it is, but I want you to just think a little bit. I'm going to give you about a minute for you to write down for yourself. What are the things you would never do? What are the things you absolutely would never do? And maybe we can get ideas from the mentors. Do any of the mentors want to share? What are the things you will never ever do? Any mentor?
And Lisa says she wouldn't steal money.
Okay, that's one. Anyone else? Even the mentors are compromised. No one.
I think an important one for me is justice and fairness. So I wouldn't ever go out of my way to harm someone in any way. In other words, to treat them unfairly or to make them feel excluded or rejected. So for me, inclusion and fairness are huge values for me.
Okay. Okay. So mentees, are you okay? Have you written it down?
Yes.
That's very good. Anyone want to share? You don't have to, but if anyone wants to share, I'll just pause for a few seconds.
I would never leave school.
Thank you very much. So for you, whatever happens, you would always want to stay in school and finish.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lemiz. Anyone else? So it means that if you ever come to a time when you're being forced to choose to leave school or to stay in school, and you have to make a very tough decision, at least you know that the one thing you would not want to do is to leave school. Okay?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay. Could you tell us why? Why is it that you would never want to leave school?
Because without school, you can't even work. You need education. It's very important.
Very good. That's an excellent, it's important that you don't just say, I will never leave school, but you're able to also justify why you will never leave school. Does someone have a hand up? I could see that someone has a hand up, but I'm on a show screen. Okay, go ahead.
No, I don't, ma'am. It's me, Kaleko. I was struggling to log in.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so it's important. The reason why we ask you to identify the things you would never do, it means you are identifying what your value system is. So, for example, for me, I would never kill. It's just something, I can't use a gun. In fact, I've refused to have a gun in my house, because I told my husband, if it's here and a thief breaks in, I will not be able to use the gun. So there's no point in buying a gun for me to use. So I'm very clear. I respect life, and I will never help take it away. So that for me would be a moral dilemma if I ever. Val, please help me control the sound. There's a lot of sound coming out.
I will do.
Okay, thanks a million. So it's not easy when we are facing moral dilemmas, because a lot of times things cannot simply be classified as good or bad. It's not black and white. Therefore, we have to identify how we are able to make these decisions. And at the end of this session, that's one of the take homes we want you to do. We're going to show you how to identify there's a problem, how to evaluate the solutions, and then how to make a decision. But I want to hand it over to Kinelwe, because Kini shared a number of scenarios with you. Kini, we are running out of time, so maybe you pick the one that had a lot of discussions around the moral dilemmas. I think you shared it in the mentees group.
Yes, I did share in the mentees group. So the one I think that I really enjoyed your responses to, let me read it out for everyone. So there is a, give me one second. Okay, so a ship is sinking and the seas are very rough. there's one lifeboat has been destroyed, and the other lifeboat only holds 6 people, and you have to save 6 people. Okay. So the people are a woman who thinks she is 6 weeks pregnant, a lifeguard, two young adults who recently got married, a senior citizen who has 15 grandchildren, an elementary school teacher, a 13-year-old, a war veteran, a nurse, the captain of the ship, and you. And just to go through some of the responses I received, I'm laughing. So the woman that everyone that thinks she's pregnant, a lot of you said that
No, maybe we ask them. Maybe we ask the for responses, just so that we can say it's being described.
So let me go through who is Shireen. Shireen, yeah. Shireen, share what you thought, because you responded.
Hello. My response was that the nurse is there. So basically, maybe the nurse told her, okay, maybe you're pregnant, but you need to go on the lifeboat because you're going to hospital. What?
Are you okay?
My just lost. Okay, I'm back. So basically, my response was that the nurse is there. So the nurse told her that she is maybe pregnant, but they have to go to hospital to find out if she really is pregnant. So she has to go on the boat. That was my response.
Love that.
Again, how about the other people that should be on the boat?
It would be the captain because he needs to like lead the way back home. And I would say yes, 15 and basically them with a couple.
The network, we're struggling with the network. Shireen, you can type, actually all the mentees, you can type it out. Does anyone else want to share? Shireen, please finish your thought in the chat box. Anyone else?
Is Katleho here?
No.
No, she was here 2 seconds ago. Okay, I guess she's not here. Okay, because she also responded with quite a nice response.
Mm.
Who else? Who else had great responses? Give me one moment.
Any of the girls want to say anything? Okay. Okay. So, what other responses were there, Kinney?
Okay, so in terms, well, the old gradient, some girls said, well, she's lived. She doesn't get on the lifeboat. And then it was mainly saving the kids. One mentee said that the captain needs to stay with their own ship. So if it sinks, it sinks. The school teacher should go on the boat, and the war veteran.
Okay.
So yeah, saving the younger people seemed to be more important.
Okay. Okay. But at least there was a bit of dialogue around it, right?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Okay. So anyone else want to say anything? No? So we can move on to the next bit of the program. Yeah. Okay. I think Fasiha is here. Is she here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I need her to turn on the mic to know that she's, or rather the video to see. You're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay then. Okay, because I know you had said you had logged on, but you were coming.
Yes. No. I'm here now. I'm properly here.
Okay. So you can show your video because I'm just about to hand it over to you. Violet is not here to do the introductions. Is Violet here?
No, she's not here.
Okay. Okay. Hi, and thank you for wearing pink. Thank you
Yes,
for
that
joining
was
us.
the mild delay. I had to go and change to make sure I was in theme.
Okay. No, thank you very, very much, Fasiha. So for the mentees, take out your notebooks and your pens because we're just about to be taken on a journey. Fasiha is going to introduce, Fasiha Hassan is our speaker of the day. She is a political leader and she is an activist. She is notable for the role that she played in Fees Must Fall. But I think, like you can see, young, we admire her. She embodies a lot of the modules that we have previously done. She's clearly a leader. You're going to hear how clearly she communicates. She's going to talk about running for public office. So for us, Fasiha is a person who actually brings the package of Girls for Girls together. This is who we are hoping you will all be in a few years' time when we call Innocentia or Shireen or Kylie. This is the profile that we will be hearing from you. So Fasiha is going to talk to us about ethics and values. And as we always do, Fasiha is going to share a few stories so that we understand how ethics and values are called upon in those different roles when she was a leader, as she's communicating, as she's negotiating and running for public office. So without much ado, let me invite Fasiha to the stage. Come, guys. This is the way we do accolades, Fasiha.
I like it. I like it. It works for the online system.
Yes, it does.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Fasiha. I'm so sorry I was a little bit late. I was just saying to Rita earlier today, and I said to Val the other day, it's Mandela Day, so there's like all these different things going on, but I'm really glad to be here. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story and try and tie it into the ethics and the values theme for today. But just a quick heads up, I've got kittens and they're in my room, so I suspect throughout the talk they may find themselves here because they also, they sit by themselves and they're happy until I have an online video call, in which case they very much want to participate. So just a heads up in case that happens. Right, so I actually am currently the youngest member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, so basically the Parliament for Gauteng. And I'm very, very lucky not just to be there, but also to be sort of representing young people. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but I want to start this space because when I was contacted by Violet to talk about ethics and values, I thought this is a fundamentally important thing. And it's very important also because a lot of people tend to think it's just leaders or politicians or like sort of high up members of society that this applies to, right? We think, okay, only politicians need to have this certain backbone of ethics and morality, but really it's something that I think all of us need to talk about and all of us need to really sort of focus on. So the first thing very quickly that I want to talk about is really the difference between ethics and values. Because often people talk about it interchangeably and they are definitely related, but they're not exactly the same thing. Also, if you lose my audio or something goes wrong, feel free to interrupt me, don't worry. I want to make sure everything gets across. So, when I did a little bit of research, ethics basically are the set of rules that govern our behavior as a person, so it's more broad. It's more broad-based about how you would act, whereas values refer to our beliefs. So if you believe in honesty as an important thing, if you believe people need to be open with their communication, for example, those are values. And ethics pull together those different values into a much broader framework. And I'll talk about that, right? But I'll relate it to real life examples. So yes, I started out in university. I went to Wits University. And one of the things that, well, now people know about that we experienced was really around students who came from poorer backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, and didn't have access to the university space. Now, if you don't know, university, even now, is still very expensive. And if you don't have funding and you don't have a bursary or scholarship, it becomes virtually impossible to enter. And a lot of people, even if you do get a scholarship, often doesn't cover the full cost of your university education, especially if you're coming in from a different province where you have to stay in university res, or you sort of need even more support than normal. And we were in the SRC in 2015, that's basically the Student Representative Council. And we came across lots and lots of people who, even at the beginning of the year, there was some confusion between NASPIS, which is the funding scheme of government, and the university, where there was some over-allocation. So more students were told that they had funding than there was actual money for. And then what happened at the end of that year, or January rather, because people were trying to register again for the following year, WITS and others were like, oh no, no one paid your fees, you can't come back. So that's called financial exclusion. When you have outstanding fees and the university basically says, until you pay your fees, you can't come back. And that's something we were really against, and we've been fighting for a long time. Anyway, through that process, we really figured out that the funding schemes are not enough. University is highly inaccessible, and really doesn't matter. And this is what we saw, and I think this is the thing that killed all of us. It didn't matter how hard a person worked. Even if you got straight A's, you'd never know it because they never released your results if you had outstanding fees. So we had tons of young people who were really hardworking, even if you were not necessarily academic. I mean, they were doing well enough, who were just having the doors shut in their face. And that wasn't something that was okay with us. And so we started Fees Must Fall, what we now know as Fees Must Fall, which was essentially sort of this largest the largest sort of mobilization of young people in a protest form, sure, but the largest mobilization of young people post-democracy. And it was led by young people like yourself, like myself, I think we were 21 at the time. And we were really able to show the entire country. We started off as 20 people. Within a few hours, we were a few hundred. Within a few days, we were thousands. And we showed the entire country what can happen when young people speak together in one voice, and when young people say, this is the issue that we want to fight. Now, I won't go into too much detail about that. If there's time or questions, I will, but I want to tie it into some sort of difficult dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, and sort of values that were questioned, or I found myself questioning. And I'll bring in a few stories and really what I think. One of the things that we chose to protest or utilize to protest was the only thing that we had power over, all right? As students, you don't have money, you don't really have a position in society. The only thing you have is your potential to graduate, the academic year, right? That's what you have as your bargaining power. Because we know that they needed graduates. We knew that that was it. No one else had anything else. And also for us, it was really important because we actually took a very literal idea of closing the doors of higher learning. So we knew that if these fee increments came through, thousands of students would just have the doors of learning shut against them. And so we took that very literally and said, well, why don't we just block the gates of the university with our bodies? So it's a non-violent action, but a very militant one in which we said we're not going to move. So we sat down like on the tar as a row of people, and we just refused to move, whether there were cars, whether there were people. Yes, we did almost get run down. Some people did. But it was really around showing the country that this is an issue that nobody can ignore. Now, there were obviously successes to Fees Must Fall, which came later. But in 2015, we had been protesting for many weeks. There was a lot of support. But in any sort of situation, it had become a very people were either for us or against us, right? And those were the kind of two very extreme views that we were having. And we were faced with a dilemma at the time as the SRC, because I did 2 terms. So I was still in the SRC at the time. Do we continue this protest and potentially look at the loss of the academic year? Okay. Or do we go back but acknowledge that there are students who will get left behind? So how did you balance the idea of what you were fighting for? And I mean, we fought so hard around this idea of getting free education. It wasn't there. The president had just announced this commission on free education. So we were faced with that. This is this idea of, if we don't go back to class soon, it means there's not going to be doctors, they're not going to be pharmacists, they're not going to be engineers, they're not going to be accountants, they're not going to be lawyers, because we won't graduate on time. And it was very, very difficult because there were many students who had said to us, I'm from a poor background, I really need to finish this degree. At the same time, there was another poor student saying to us, I don't have fees or funding. If we stop now, I won't be able to come back to university. And this was, I think, as a young person, one of the most difficult decisions we ever had to face, because it was not just right or wrong, it was not black or white, the entire thing was gray. And there was no real right answer. In the end, we made a very difficult decision, and there are days where I stay up at night still thinking whether it was the right one. But we decided to call off the protest and to go back to class with the idea that we would continue fighting. And also, and this is also important, and I want to stress this, when making a decision, you're not the only person who has ideas or expertise on it. So what happened is we actually went to Amit Kathrada and Uncle Lalu Cheba, who were, ANC, but more struggle stalwarts, who had done mass organizing during the apartheid eras. They did what you call, or what we now know as the bus boycott and the potato boycott, but were very interesting because they convinced people to forego things that would benefit them in favor of a long-term political goal. So when we spoke to them, they said to us, or one of the big advices they gave us was, you can or you should call off a protest or mass mobilizing effort at a peak, at a height, because it means that you can then remobilize when the time is right again, because people will trust you. You were not forced to go back. It was on your own terms. But of course, we came under severe criticism, particularly from more radical leftist groups. We were also leftists. I won't get into that, but we were also quite radical in that sense. But even more fringe groups for saying, oh, you guys sold out. And that was very, very difficult because we had sacrificed a lot. We were not done. We continued to fight the next year like we said we would. But we came under severe, severe criticism. And I think that was one example in which I had to also look at my principles and my ethics to say, well, what do I believe in here? I believe fundamentally and strongly that we must get access to free education. But is that education going to come in the next 2 months? Most likely not, because we had to find the funding, etc., etc. So that's one example. But I want to share a more personal example as well, because I wanted to give you a little bit of a background. And I think this is also where you need to figure out, whenever you're faced with a difficult sort of situation, who you are and what you stand for. Because when you start to think about it, and you don't have to have the perfect answer, you don't have to have a paragraph of an answer, you just kind of need to have an idea of that, because then you ask yourself, what's important to me? What are my principles? Is my family very important to me? Is my career very important to me? Where am I willing to compromise? And that sort of gives you that moral compass to guide you, or even that compass to guide you. And one of the things I've personally used, and some people will agree, some people may disagree, but I'm a practicing Muslim, and I've sort of found a more progressive Islam. And whenever I'm really faced with a tough situation, especially in political spaces, I kind of refer not just to the Quran, but to sort of practices of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because he was a very grounded, down-to-earth, but very revolutionary person who was sort of against he was anti-racist, he was anti-sexist, he believed in working class struggles, and all these ideas that we hear about now were actually very present then. And that's one of the ways that I sort of do that. But it's not just about having role models. Your role model can be anybody. But you need to understand what you want to take from that role model, right? You need to say, well, what is that idea that I want to emulate? Because you could choose a role model that maybe isn't necessarily the best thing for you, or maybe their ideas don't fit into your life goals. I know I've encountered young people who very often make celebrities or sports people their role models, which I understand. But in a time like this, we need to understand why we find ourselves in the position that we do. Like, it's COVID now. Thousands of people, if not millions of people, are going to lose their jobs, okay? We need more and more young people who are going to be involved in society, in building society, to help us overcome these socioeconomic issues. And if your only role model are sports people, or sort of Kim K, I like her, I love her makeup, that's what I choose to emulate from her. But I'm not going to emulate her politics. I'm not going to pretend that they are progressive people who I aspire to be like. But there are some pieces, bits and pieces I take, and that's really also what I want to share. There'll be bits and pieces of things that you want to pull together. But ultimately, remember, you have to look yourself in the mirror every day. You need to make sense of that person that you've become. So that personal experience I wanted to share with you was when I had become the first chairperson of the Muslim Students Association at WITS. And like I said, I was the first woman. And I came under severe attack from like patriarchs, misogynists. They hated the fact that I was a woman, and they hated the fact that I was sort of in a position above them, right? Where I could, you know, basically look over the committee and do the work. And the interesting thing, just for the information's sake, is I had won the most votes and I had the most merit. But this was not a question about merit. This was not about, it was purely about the fact that I was a woman. And at that time, I faced a different dilemma. And that was, how do I assert myself as a woman, as a feminist, as someone who believes and deserves to be in this position? But how do I do that while at the same time trying to bring people who have a different idea than me to the table? So there was a conservative group, there were groups who were sort of middle ground, but there were also people who were very violently against it. And I had to sit and think for a very long time about whether or how I was going to deal with this. And I share this story because I wanted to give you examples of things that made me who I am or who changed me. And my family will tell you I came home almost every day that year in tears because of how difficult it was and because of how your very existence as a woman in a space is so difficult. Like, you have to fight to be accepted. You have to fight to be taken seriously, and you have to fight for people to believe in not just in you, but in the vision that you have forward. And I share this because it's, like I said, it's not black and white. I felt that at some point, compromising to some of what those very conservative ideas were, I thought I was betraying who I was. At the same time, you're a leader. Your job is not to be liked by everybody. Your job is also to bring in conflicting ideas and try and, you know, find a common ground. In the end, I have to be honest, eventually I stopped doing that. I did it at the beginning because I thought there was value in it. But I later discovered that the people that I was sort of working with or forced to work with didn't have the same intentions. And more importantly, their entire focus was really just on bringing down other women in the space. And so I had to make a very difficult decision to say, well, you know what, I'm going to leave these people behind because their value system doesn't necessarily equal a better society or a better university space or a better organization. And this is where, you know, I had to take a very difficult stance. And before in preparation, I was chatting to Rita about this. And I'm sure many people on this call and many young women will have experienced this before. The moment you disagree with something or you don't go with sort of what the masses are going with, people start to call you a bitch, they start to call you all sorts of colorful terminologies because they can't justify how you can stand apart and still be okay. How you can say, well, this is not something I agree with, I'm going to do my own thing. And immediately it makes you a target. But I want to say that there are so many women and so many people who have sacrificed and done everything that they can to pave a way for us. I wouldn't be sitting in the legislature at 25, 26 as the youngest person had it not been for other women who came before me, you know, who sort of provided a situation in which I could achieve. And that's another thing that I want to say. The questions and the answers that you need to give yourself is not just about individual interest. You need to think about what this is going to do to affect the collective and how this is going to affect society. Because at the end of the day, we don't live in a society where it's just us. We have family, we have friends. Even the South African idea of Ubuntu means that we need to take into cognizance how everyone else is going to be affected by what's going on. So as long as you know and have an idea of who you are, like I said, it makes it a lot easier to sort of make sense of things. And the last example I'm gonna give you from my life is maybe something that you'll relate to more. And that is actually around when I was in high school. I really struggled with a group of very bitchy girls. I really struggled. I was faced with pretty hectic bullying. I mean, not physical per se, but you know, when girls bully each other, it's very emotional, very mental, name calling. It's really awful. And I was always a kid who didn't always like fit in. I never wanted to like wear, yeah, okay, now I can wear pink, but at the time I was like, I didn't care about what I wore. I remember as like 5, 6-year-old me, all the girls wanted to do like ballet and wear these pink dresses. And I remember I like begged my mom to go to karate, which never happened, but you know, that was the kind of kid that I was. I really just wanted to live my life and to climb the tree, and I was a bit of a tomboy. And then, yeah, in high school, when, you know, you're starting to change, you're starting to, like, puberty is hitting you. And then at the same time, there are these girls who constantly commented, because I was very thin, but like weirdly thin. So lots of comments on that, about how my body looked. Lots of comments where there was this one guy in particular who liked me. I didn't like him back. He really freaked me out. And they would consistently try and, like, I don't know, put us in weird situations together, and it wasn't funny. Like, I never found any of those funny. I just found them really horrible and violating. And it got to a point where I actually used to bring a book to school, because at break, I just didn't want to hang out, and they didn't want to hang out with me either, because I was this, like, weird kid, where I just used to read at lunch. And I think people don't quite understand when I talk about why books are important to me and reading was important to me. It was really just sort of an escape. And that's not because I didn't want to be cool or didn't want to be popular. I mean, now the tables have really turned. Those same people who were horrific to me then now, like, want to be around me, want to be surrounded by us, you know, because we're successful. They're like, oh yeah, we went to school with her. And I'm shook. I'm so shook. One of the guys that, like, is currently interested in me, his cousin was, like, head bully chick person, and apparently she talks highly of me. She's like, Fas is such a great person. And I'm just like, what? The same girl who was, like, horrible, like, go cry in the bathroom. But I was lucky in that I found a group of friends who were also kind of bullied and subjected to this bitchy mean girls crew, who were also victims of that, and we found each other. And when we found each other, I discovered that relationships with young girls and women don't have to be toxic, and don't have to be ones where you have to change who you are, or change how you dress or worry. And then, if time will allow, I just wanted to talk about pressures around sending nudes, because I think this is also an important thing. One of the big things, and I'm sure you would have experienced it, especially now we're in a digital age, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Lots of guys put a lot of pressure for us to send, like, nude pictures, or even, you know, sort of sexually provocative pictures. And I think it's just important to talk about, because of the pressure that's put on girls in particular, and how often those pictures are later used, you know, to sort of harass and sort of bully and, you know, like, blackmail. Oh, if you don't do this, we'll drop pictures on Instagram, or we'll send it out on WhatsApp, or whatever it is. And there's two things I want to say. I think the first thing is really around being comfortable in who you are, right? If you are comfortable in your body and in yourself, you're allowed to have complete agency to do with what you wish, but just be on a space in which you are able to understand that person. Most people nowadays are unable to really sort of look at the intention as to why we're doing this, and are really unable to, I think, be kind about it. Right? So it's not even about liking a human being. It's also sometimes about power, because guys then tend to share, oh, so many girls send me these nudes, and it becomes part of this objectification. So, you know, I know a lot of girls are experiencing this in school. I experienced it more when I got to university. But yeah, I just want to say, I know what's been going on. I've also been put under pressure. And really, I just, personally, because this is how I've chosen to deal with it, I just sort of say, I'm not comfortable with that. If that's what you want, like, I mean, there are online sites in which people can find things. I'm not comfortable. And I sort of draw the line very strictly, because that's how I've chosen to do it. Also because I'm very well aware that this could be used to harm me, harm my reputation, harm my political career. But there are other young women who've chosen to send those things. Just be aware and be sure and trust who you're able to share those things with. And make sure you're in an equal relationship, you know, never one in which you are forced to do things or be uncomfortable in that space together. So yeah, I'm interested to discuss and talk. I know I've spoken a lot, but I'm very keen to hear from everybody and just, yeah, get some thoughts and ideas, even if it's not questions. It can be questions, or it can just be, yeah, anything you want to share with me.
Thank you so much, Fasiha. Thanks. You feel like you've talked a lot. I was wanting you to keep going. Thanks a million. That was very insightful. And it's lovely that I think we got to meet you on Thursday and were able to talk about different scenarios. We're clearly seeing the benefit of that. So really good discussion that you've had there for us. I've been scribbling notes. First, I thought I was just going to make notes in the chat box, but turns out that I actually wanted to make notes for myself as well. So let's welcome any questions or any comments. And this is particularly from the mentees. This is your last guest. This is the last time that you're going to have someone spending more than an hour with you and giving of her time. How often do you meet a person of her political stature? So please take advantage of it. If you have any questions, raise your hand and then we can, or let me know whoever it is, and then you can direct your question. Anyone?
They said mentees.
I want to ask a question. Let's give them a little bit of time. Any of the mentees? Or maybe you want to think about it? Should we start with Natasha? Okay. Jabulile?
Hi. Okay, hi. I have a question about how other women respond to like the decision you make, the stance you decide to take on. And these are like women outside of your group of friends. Like, are they supportive of you? Do they misunderstand what you're trying to do? Do they think you act better than them? Or like, I'm just wondering how it is other women respond to, like your position and the impact that you've had so far.
Go ahead, Fasiha.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Should I just respond one, or do you want to take a few at a time?
We have a bit of a shy group, I must warn you. So
okay, no, that's fine. That's so good. I have one or two things that I didn't say, so I can also put it in here. Jabu, yes. So it's dependent on which spaces I've been in. So how other women respond to me. I've had a mixture, if I'm being honest. There are some women who have been very supportive and some women who have been like, okay, we'll take you under our wing, we'll give you advice. But I've also experienced the opposite, and I'll give you two examples. The one was very recently, I won't mention names, but a senior politician woman who I debated that day in the legislature around climate change and the environment, and it went really well. Like I got good feedback from everybody. Later that night, I got a call from this person and I'm thinking she wants to say, okay, well done, I liked your speech, your debate, whatever. In reality, it was a rap on the knuckles because she said, that dress that you wore was inappropriate. You can't wear a sleeveless dress to the house. And I think I was actually wearing this very blazer, but I had taken it off during the debate because, you don't physically fight, of course, but you feel like you're about to go into the ring. And it was a high neck top, a dress. You couldn't see anything. It like ended here, and I was shocked that I was getting told what I can and can't wear in 2020 by a woman. And it wasn't that I was inappropriately dressed, because I also spoke to other people after. I was like, did you think I was inappropriately dressed? And I really got into, like, I was put in the fire there. And I also had to remind myself that just because somebody is a woman doesn't necessarily mean they're progressive and doesn't necessarily mean they're feminists. And the other experience I had was I did a short stint at a corporate law firm just before I got formally into politics. So I studied law, and then I went to do a part of my articles. And I had a similar, well, not exactly, but a similar sort of experience also with a woman who, I think because she couldn't mold me into who she wanted me to be, reacted very, very badly. She was actually my principal. So when you start your articles at a law firm, what they do is they assign each young candidate attorney to what we call a principal. And she gave me hell. Like, if I can tell you, like, a woman who utilized all of the power dynamics, everything to make my life so difficult. I remember I'd drive home at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, leaving the office and cry in the car because I didn't want my parents to see what was happening. Because, this is another thing maybe we can talk about. So the pressures and the ideas our parents have for us. They want the best life, and they thought, well, this corporate law firm position is at a top law firm. This is what they wanted for me. And I would cry in the car because I just didn't want them to see how difficult it was being. And it wasn't that it was long hours. I work 18-hour days now. It was because I was in a corporate law firm. I wasn't fitting in with their firm culture. I wasn't going to do the things that they were going to do. And also because for me, personally, it's not a life that I would have chosen, you know, making other companies much richer. And I remember very particularly, it was the class action, a big court case around the silicosis thing. So basically, miners in the gold mines, if you work in the mine for very long, you develop a lung issue. Silicosis is horrible, like it's a painful death. It's awful. And I remember that law firm representing the big companies. And when we had asked some of them about the case, they reacted very, very badly because they were basically saying that the number of people who had silicosis had like doubled and they didn't think it was honest. And we were like, but aren't there medical records to show this? And when I started to ask those sorts of questions, they were like, this one, we need to isolate and manage this one. And that ultimately led to me resigning because I couldn't. And also very important, a lot of people were critical of that. A lot of people were like, you're making a mistake. You're going to really F up your career. This is it. This is your law career down the drain. And I had to trust in the fact that I knew I was doing the right thing because that wasn't who I was. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it's definitely not an easy thing. I'm seeing questions in the chat, Rita. Can I?
Go ahead and you can answer them. Innocentia asks, how did you respond to your high school mates when they threw shade at you? Did you isolate yourself? How did you gain the confidence and what uplifted your self-esteem?
I think initially it was easier to isolate. I think it's also a protective mechanism. You kind of just don't want to be in that environment. But I fast learned that that was also not the best approach because then you're just kind of alone in your own corner. And I just sort of found things that I really liked doing. And I sort of took up different things. So like I ended up taking up drama and I found this like really great group of people there. Like I found other things that gave me fulfillment. And the last thing that I think I also stopped doing was I stopped running after them. I was like, I have no reason to be friends with these people. And the moment I also did that, the dynamics changed because they're like, Sarah really doesn't care anymore, you know, but it was difficult. Like if I can tell you, I almost moved schools. It was really, really tough. And I also learned then, you know, mean girls can be very, very mean, even though they're not physically throwing punches. It can be sometimes worse than that. And then, yeah, like I said, I found things that I liked doing, and that's how I rebuilt my self-esteem. And also just remember in the bigger picture, in the long run, things are likely to work out for you. More often than not, people who peak in high school, unfortunately, they don't necessarily always do very well after. So it's also to be kind to each other. You don't want to reproduce that same kind of bullying kind of tactic, right? Just because you were in that position. And I'm now cognizant of that because I'm in a position where I could be like that. And it's taking, let me be honest, it's taking every ounce of my self-discipline to not be like, to not tell this girl off because I'm trying to be a bigger person. So 6 months from now, I may have a different view, but right now I'm trying to do the right thing and I'm trying to be the bigger person, but we'll see how long it lasts.
Okay.
Okay, more questions.
Innocentia, did that answer?
Yeah.
She says, lovely, thanks a lot. So Ntebogang asked, what made you look forward and want to achieve what you wanted to achieve? What
strength?
What gave you strength or motivated you, I guess?
Okay, so 1 second, sorry. Right, so what gave me sort of strength, what made me look forward? I'll be honest, I didn't actually visualize a career in politics, definitely not. But what I did know is that I wanted to be involved in my community and I wanted to help people. And that I found, and even today, I find a huge sense of fulfillment in being a part of something bigger than myself, right? And I think this is also where people don't quite understand how valuable it is to be involved in community projects. And, you know, there's a sense of fulfillment in what you do. So I knew I wanted to do that. obviously, like, I do come from an Indian community. There was some pressures, go be a doctor, go be this. And I did think about it, but I didn't think my personality type was very well suited to it. And so in many ways, I then decided that I wanted to be a lawyer, but like a human rights lawyer, sort of an NGO lawyer. And I studied actually a BCom, and then I did an LLB. But let me be clear, right? A lot of people, and I don't want to ever be this person who makes it sound like you had the answer from the beginning. I most certainly did not. I was so unsure about what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do. In many ways, I took it as it came. And that's not always necessarily the best approach. Like, I sort of knew where I wanted to go, generally speaking. Like, I knew I wanted to be this lawyer, but I didn't quite know what the pathway would be. And that also, the benefit of that is that it opened me up to all these opportunities I never considered, like SRC, which eventually became Fees Must Fall, which eventually became this. I wouldn't be sitting where I am today if I was very rigidly, I'm going to be a lawyer, because then I would have stayed at that law firm, right? I never would have become who I really am. I would have been a shadow of myself. So it's a bit of a combination of having a plan, but also trusting your gut feeling and trusting in yourself. And don't let anyone persuade you otherwise. It's hard work. Any one of the mentors can tell you, you've got to put in the hours. It's going to require some self-sacrifice. I work sometimes 18-hour days. When my friends are going out, because I'm still young, I'm in my 20s, I'm not usually going out with them. I'm not saying you have to sacrifice all those things, but I'm saying that there will come a time where you will have to sacrifice something in order to reach a much larger goal. And I want to say that openly and honestly, because I don't think people talk about that enough. A lot of people just go and just sort of become successful without really talking about how much time it takes, how sometimes emotionally draining it can become, and also how difficult it can be. It's most certainly possible. You're going to attain it, but I want everyone to be mentally prepared for what that success comes with. But you grow up as a person, you learn and you adapt to it as well.
So I just want to, it's as if we gave you a cheat sheet, and I want the mentees to reflect back on courageous leadership. If you remember the details underneath courage, to be a courageous leader, the first thing it says, know your mission. Fasiha just talked about it. She was clear that yes, if she was going to be a lawyer, it was going to be to serve people. Fasiha just told us she was interested in community projects. She also told us she didn't know it all from the beginning. You have to find your mission. These are all the things we talked about in session 2. The second thing that Fasiha has talked about that falls under courageous leadership is the one about, who is it? Village. She's talked twice about her village. I don't know whether you've heard it. Her family are her village. When you used to cry, you said at the SRC, you would go home every day in tears, but you felt free. She felt free to cry at home because that was her emotional support. You also talked about finding friends that supported you, I think during the high school times. So again, that is village. You're like the classic courageous leader for us. So I'm hoping that who asked this question? Innocentia asked this question, that you're beginning to see the link between what is in these handbooks, that you guys have, that we gave out at the beginning of the session. It is all in there, and we keep bringing people to come and talk to you and show you that it's not book ideas. These things are real. So without Fasiha even knowing it, she just gave us a lecture not only on ethics and values, but she also told us a story about what it takes to be a courageous leader. I was just sitting here and thinking to myself, boom, you're coming back for courageous leadership with another cohort. Okay. Sorry, I just had to chip in with that because I'm hoping that the girls understand that we've not been having theoretical discussions and that it is real. The lessons are real.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, if I could just on that, Rita, like we were saying, ethics and values are not in isolation. It's not like, ethics and values, tick, tick. It actually underpins everything in society and everything about also who you are. Even if you take it out of a work perspective, if you have a fight with a partner, a boyfriend, girlfriend, how you interact with your friends, how you interact with the person at the shop, at the cashier, all of those things are sort of your ethics and your values playing itself out. So it does underpin everything. And also what I wanted to say, but I'll say it now. There's a huge importance of ethics and values in society, especially in sort of the South African context, in which we find rampant corruption. We're finding people who quite blatantly are stealing money from the poor. I can cite 1,000,001 examples, both in government and outside of government. But also just to sort of say that we need to hold all of ourselves to a higher standard. And like I said earlier, it doesn't just go for politicians, CEOs, people we see on the news. We need to hold our friends, we need to hold our families to a higher standards. And you see it also with racism when it plays itself out. How many of us have been in a family situation in which someone has said something really racist or problematic, something really sexist against women, or even just, I recognize you're speaking to girls here, but you may have a guy friend who's been slut-shaming this girl the whole time, or has very problematic ideas when they go out about being entitled to women's attention. And those are things that we also need to call out and we need to push, because we're not going to solve society, both socioeconomic issues and the culture of society, without doing that, or without holding ourselves to a higher standard. Like, a lot of people will complain about corruption, right? But when they stop by the cops, they'll bribe the cop. And you're like, that's also corruption. So we all need to sort of understand that we need a change of culture. And we also need to change how we speak to each other and how we interact with each other, because our issues are not just political or economic in nature. It's not just that we have high unemployment rates or people are very poor. It's that there's a problem, I think, in our society where we just keep missing each other. Like, we have the puzzle pieces, okay? I really believe this. We have the right puzzle pieces in South Africa. We just seem unable to match the right pieces together because we just miss each other. We completely miss each other. Like, when men were trying to speak out against gender-based violence, like, let's protect women. And we're like, but you've also missed the point, because we shouldn't need to be protected. You must call yourself out, your friends out, your brother, your husband, your father, etc. Because who must we be protected from? But the fact that you're saying you need to protect us, it implies that there's someone or something you need to protect us from. And that's the root of the problem. That's where we have to focus it. And then the last one, when someone gets sexually assaulted or harassed or raped, let's not play around. Sometimes it's women who say, oh, were you drunk? What were you wearing? It's not just men who say those things. So we also need to understand that we can perpetuate those problematic ideas, and we need to stop doing that. Sorry, Rita, I just wanted to add that in.
No, you're perfect. It's like you came and attended our session yesterday, because we had the one on GBV.
GBV, yes.
It's the same thing. We what do we contribute towards gender-based violence? Every day we say, no, I'm against it. But the things we say and the way we behave, is perpetuating it. And it is a moral dilemma, because one needs to sit and say, wait a moment, what am I saying and what am I promoting? Am I promoting gender-based violence, or am I actually taking a stand against it? No, that is very well said. Okay.
I got one private question, so I'll just answer it. And the question was whether I spoke to my mom or told my mom what was going on in high school. I didn't initially tell her. In fact, she would just sort of find me crying. I'd make some other excuse. And then eventually I did tell her what was going on. And to my mother's credit, she helped me sort of find a psychologist counselor at the school, and they did try to intervene. But there was like two sort of reactions. There was that reaction, and then there was also another reaction of, and I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced this from parents who kind of like, you kind of just need to pull up your socks and move on. And this was an interesting thing to deal with, because when you're 14 or however old I was, I think I was around that age or a little bit younger, it is the end of the world. It feels like that, because that is your world. Your world is school. Your world are your immediate friends or the immediate people in your school community. And I did find that difficult to sort of comprehend, but I also recognize that it's also part of a generational thing. She comes from this generation where suck it up and move on. Because after a while, when I was at the law firm, they told me the same thing. So I think there is merit for sure in telling parents, but we also mustn't assume that you're going to get a particular reaction, because we are also from very different generations, and how we process things and deal with things is different to other people. So I just wanted to say, that.
No, thank you very much. Anyone else? Natasha, you had a question in the beginning?
I forgot it because it took so long.
Why did you not write it down?
I'm very enthralled with what Fasiha is saying. So, I mean, I'm only human. But I have another question, if that helps. Fasiha, your work with Fees Must Fall, etc., and the legislature and the law firm, because I think, that's when you and I first encountered each other. How do you deal with women with internalized misogyny, women who, for all intents and purposes, because of indoctrination, really uphold patriarchal, systemic patriarchy, unintentionally, I think, to a certain degree, because it's just how people have been raised, and it's not even to a certain age. Our moms, our grannies, yes, obviously, but even women, you and I are not the same age, but relatively, our age and younger, stop laughing at me, our age and younger still have that, things that, like you're saying, I assume the women in the legislature who told you were inappropriately dressed, it was older than you, but it happens, women slut shame each other, and they can be of the same age, How do you deal with that personally and in your political career?
Thanks, Natasha. That's quite true. And I also, just for the mentees, so often you come across women who have internalized exactly what Natasha's saying, these ideas that there can only be one woman in the space, or women have a particular place in society. And you see this often, right? You see it with older, like family members, aunts, grandmothers. You even see it with other people. I mean, not people in my direct school, but in the Muslim community that I came from, because I didn't go to a Muslim school at all. For them, they were like, straight out of school, I'm going to get married. And I was like, but you don't have to anymore. Like, no one's forcing you. Like, you don't have to. You can go study. So many things you can do. And they were like, no, this is what I want to do. And you have to actually unpack that and realize that even though someone seemingly doing it out of choice, it's a product of the society that they were brought up in. So they fundamentally believe that the right thing to do is to just get married and have kids, instead of necessarily explore who they are, study or travel, figure out, what the world is like. Now, I use that example just because I think it's a little bit easier to relate to, but Natasha's quite right. Sometimes it's older women, sometimes it's people around you who constantly uphold these problematic ideas. So one of the things I've had to do, and I'm sure Natasha, Rita, everybody here will have had to unlearn. So we use this term unlearn things. It means that both directly and indirectly you were taught things growing up, that girls are fragile, that men can't cry, boys can't cry, etc., etc. So this process of unlearning acknowledges that we have to take what we've been told and be critical of it and say, well, hey, does this actually make sense? Is this something I subscribe to? But a lot of people don't do that. And a lot of people unknowingly perpetuate these problematic ideas. So yes, the woman at the legislature was older than me. And a lot of the older women generation, particularly, they like, and it's not a bad thing, they go to church, they wear those particular skirts and, I don't know if you've seen that with the jacket, and they have very particular ideas, even about like putting your hair up, wearing this type of earring, that type. And I kind of have to also say that there's lines, right, that I sort of draw. There's some battles that I think are worth fighting and some that are not. So I purposefully don't dress in a particular way, provocatively to work, because that's just personally something I don't think I should do, right? And also because I work in a very male-dominated space, and I'm already fighting the sexualization of my body in the space. Because I'm young, there's always this idea, like, I'll tell you this, people will always like, so are you single? Oh, you look like commenting on what I wear, or oh, so you don't wear dresses, like things like that. I'm sort of every day having to go through those things. So I personally am choosing to dress in a particular way. But it's also around saying, yeah, which battles are worth fighting and which are not. Because for me, it's more about getting meaningful representation of women and ensuring that we get more women at the table. Something that someone recently said, that is that if you are the only woman at the table, then you've done something wrong. Because there's also this tokenization, you're only one person. And the idea that only one woman can sit at the table is an idea we need to defeat. So we need to constantly ask ourselves, how do we bring more women into the space so that we can all equally benefit? And this is something that I think we need to learn. The world is big enough for all of us to be successful. It's not just one of us in the friendship group who gets to make it, or one of us in the company, or, you know, one of us. The world, I know it's shocking, but it's truly big enough for all of us to be pretty, all of us to be successful, all of us to be smart, all of us to be, you know, top tier, whatever it is. And just because you're those things doesn't mean you're taking it away from someone else. In fact, that's the problematic idea, that if I'm this, then you can't be. Why can't we do it together? That's also like a patriarchal idea that women are often set up against each other because it benefits them. We're too busy fighting each other while they're the ones who are eating the cake. You know, we never ever see or touch that thing. Meanwhile, we were part of a fundamental part of making it. So yeah, it's about choosing battles, and I think it's also about finding the right allies, finding people who you can rely on, people that, you know, you can find support in. And the last one, just know that you will definitely meet people who don't want you to succeed. And don't let them get in your head, and also know that in the long run it will be okay. Yeah.
I have one final question. Andre, can I ask it? Are you gonna yell at me? Are you gonna yell at me? Okay, great.
Wait, I've not even heard me. I'm not gonna yell at you, but I'm like loving this, because this is,
I know, I can see you are like
breaking down negotiations, breaking down courageous leadership. I'll ask Mabatu to analyze what she has just said and pull out some of them, because we're repeating the session. It is amazing. Fasiha, you have no idea what you're doing. Natasha, go for it. But then I want the other mentors to chip in. And let's relate what Fasiha is saying to the lessons that we have come from. When she talks about allies, I mean, she's just reliving these sessions to us. So, Natasha, go ahead.
Yeah,
but
it's a quick thing. It was just, I think for a lot of people, they viewed Fees Must Fall as quite a linear movement, right? It was a lot of students fighting against a system that's unequal, obviously. But I know from talking to you, from talking to Shahira, from talking to Nompendula, there was a lot of patriarchy that existed within the Fees Must Fall movement. When you are fighting against a cause, how do you make sure that you still perpetuate your feminist values, even in a system that may be for the greater good, in terms of we must all be better, but is still inherently patriarchal or misogynist?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't necessarily, or were not necessarily privy to that or seeing it. If you were involved, you would have. So one of the things we experienced, as much as it was a very progressive movement, for example, Nombendula would lead a song, like, you know how it is when we protest, people sing, etc.
Yeah.
And there'd be this group who are like, "Who's that woman? We're not gonna follow her when she sings." Or when one of us would speak, getting physically pulled down. That eventually did happen. Or, you know, one of my favorite ones, we'll go up, speak at the mass meeting in front of all these thousands of students. You know, you'll speak about whatever international models of higher education. People will clap, yes, that's great, that's great. And then another male leader will go up and say the same thing you said. Wow, leadership, yes. Like, what? These are students, these are like university students. They're meant to be, and then they're here, right? They're part of the Fees Must Fall movement. Surely, like, they can see what they're doing. Surely they can see that they sort of prioritizing a male voice over a woman voice, and sort of erasing us from the space. And it actually got to a point where we sort of, as women in the space, created what we called Mbogodo Lead. So there's a day we came in, we all wore a particular kind of duk, and then we sang songs around Mam Winnie, not around Mandela, around Adelaide Tambo, not her husband. You know, all of these women figures and icons who have been forgotten and not focused on enough, but who are fundamentally important. So we did experience that. And I think also another thing that people didn't necessarily see or acknowledge, and that is that Fees Must Fall was largely women-led, women organized, women mobilized, etc. Exactly. And that's also why I think we need to tell our narratives and our stories. We're also last thing taught, it's framed as being humble, which I think there is space for, but it's also very particular that we mustn't tell our stories, that we must be, and I'm using this word like this, humble, right? Because I think true humility is different, but humble because they don't want us to tell our stories. How many women do we know in our own families and our own groups who've done incredible things and overcome incredible odds, but these stories will never be told. So we also have to tell our stories one way or another. And the nice thing about social media is you don't have to write a novel. You can share posts, you can do a video, you can put up a pic, there's so many different ways we can record our stories. So thanks, Natasha, thanks.
I promise I'm done with my question. Well, I'm not, but I'll be done for now, I promise.
Okay.
Rein yourself in, sister.
I promise. I am. I really
because that's exactly what I'm doing. There's just so much that Fasiha is sharing, and I'm like, not enough time. But I guess mine is really a comment, Fasiha, and it's something you also said in the beginning around the people that you look up to and the role models that are in our spaces, and especially young people's spaces. And I just want to, so as part of the work we do with mentors and mentees at G4G is to shine the spotlight. And I want to shine the spotlight on you and say that for me, you epitomize what a celebrity is. In other words, for me, the definition of celebrity is someone whose life we celebrate because of what they do for others. It's not about kind of putting you on a pedestal of any sort. And you are clearly not somebody who is looking to be put on any type of pedestal. So I just want to say to the mentees, especially when you think celebrity, think of every single speaker that has been brought on this platform. Think of this young woman who is before you and start to redefine for yourself what celebrity is. We take nothing away from people who've achieved success through, the arts, actors and sports people, and they've done well for themselves, but look at what it is they do for others beyond just the small confines of their professions. So Fasiha, thank you for you. Thank you for the work that you continue to do. And I think more than that, for me, you are a living demonstration of why in all spheres of society, we need to bring young people along. I am personally, to be quite honest, very tired of seeing only people my age and older making decisions for young people and the rest of us in this country. So please keep pushing the agenda to have young people come along. Mentees, here's Fasiha, look at what she continues to do. I've said to us before, leadership, you never arrive. And I know, Fasiha, you keep growing in your role as a politician, as a lawyer, as a leader in society. So young ladies, young women, mentees, if you ever doubted yourself and thought, I'm too young, if that little voice ever came to you that says, I don't have what it takes, but who am I? Here's a picture right in front of you of a young woman who continues to do amazing things. So Fasiha, we celebrate you, we thank you. As Rita has said, so many of the principles that we talk about, that we teach, your courage, your leadership in, for others, your way of being able to negotiate and kind of, navigate through what I know politics is hard, right? Which is why a lot of people steer clear of it. But you're navigating and finding your own path along that. Your ability to speak with such assertion and clarity and passion. You are it. You are what we keep saying to the girls. Here is something to aspire to. So we celebrate you, we shine the spotlight on you, and we thank you for the work that you do. Please just keep it up. We need more and more young people like you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nabatu. You see, the things we learn from the young people.
It's a heart.
So in a sense, she has said, from my perspective, I actually think there's nothing wrong with wearing a short skirt, short dress, skirts, shorts. Honestly, people in our society need to change their way of thinking, according to my perspective. But I think Fasiha also had a lesson in there that win people over. Don't just tell people, deal with my short skirt. I think that's the level of intelligence I'm respecting Fasiha for. Not a lot of young people think that way. It's easy to say, this is who I am, I have the right to dress the way I want to dress, deal with it. Or you can say to people, I think we had that discussion, did we have it last week when we said, please tell me what is wrong with my sleeveless dress. Please tell me what is wrong with my short skirt. Because when they realize there's actually no explanation for it, or as they explain, they realize they actually have no point, you've actually made yourself an ally who next time will actually be standing up for you to say, it's actually okay to wear a sleeveless dress. So I agree with you, Innocentia. It's the how that you tackle it. And it's a pity, I think Innocentia was not here for the last session, because we kind of addressed that under session 5. Kylie, I think it's also to show how we dress and represent ourselves, okay? So Kylie is agreeing, okay? Okay.
And Tyra also asked, just a bit above that, how did you feel when the lady told you the dress that I wore was inappropriate? I thought I'll just bring that in here. I think your initial feeling, and it's also like a learned behavior. Oh, I'm wrong. I'm embarrassed. I must have done something wrong. And it's something that we constantly are taught to believe that we are the problem. So yeah, that was the initial feeling. But then I also had to be like, and exactly what Rita said, what is the purpose and intention of what she's saying? And I also had to be very clear, and I think Mbato spoke about this, politics is hard. And being a young person and being a young woman enter into a very, number one, male-dominated and old-dominated space, they are very threatened by us, very. And it's more likely because the debate was fire and that I did really well that day. That's more likely what it was about. And she couldn't touch me on sort of form. She couldn't touch me on the substance of what I was saying, the argument. So yeah, the only thing that she felt that she could attack me on was on that. And so while initially I think I was very taken aback, I had to put it in context and be like, said, we know that this is not about your dress, that this is more about what you represent and who you are in the space. And also the last thing, remember that when you walk into a room, you don't just represent you. I don't just represent Fasiha. Natasha doesn't just represent Natasha, etc. We represent women, whether we like it or not. We carry that burden on our shoulders, and women of color who are constantly having to prove ourselves, constantly having to go through the violence of that system, etc. So never forget that you're not just you or representing yourself in the space. Perhaps there will come a time, and I hope there will be, where we can just be accountable for ourselves and just be us. But until we equalize the playing fields, we will always be used as examples both for and against liberation of women.
True. So we're going to take one more question from the mentees, which is Lemiz's question. And then we're going to now transition, because we've talked a lot about moral dilemmas, ethical dilemmas that we meet in life. But the second part of this discussion is about how to make decisions to address those moral dilemmas. So there's a framework, which I will do a quick touch base on. Then we have a role play. And then collectively as a group, we're going to try and apply that framework. So the last question that has come through, Fasiha, did you ever feel like giving up on something?
Yes, it is very normal to feel like that. There are going to be days where you really do want to give up and you're so tired and you're so fed up. That feeling is not what defines you. What defines you is how you pick yourself up. And don't let people who are successful tell you, oh, they never wanted to give up. That's nonsense. There are more days than not, I'm like, Jesus, this problem in the state, problem in this department, oh my God, is it possible? Like you're bashing your head against the wall. And you often think, okay, you're crazy. You're not crazy for feeling like that. You're very normal. The system is often set up for us to feel like we must give up and for us to give up. So that's normal. But find ways and coping mechanisms so that that's not what becomes the center, so that you have a day, you can cry it out, you watch series, you speak to your friend, you do your thing, you do what makes you happy, and then the next day you pull yourself together and you're like, bro, I'm gonna do this, this is important, and then you just keep going day after day, because there's no like perfect science to it. Don't let anyone tell you, there's this trick particularly. It's just perseverance every day. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And she's just spoken about members of her village. So again, I keep taking it back to the different sessions we have had. There are people, Fasiha, I think what you're saying is that there are people who you know who to go to that will help you bounce back, isn't it? When you're feeling a little bit low and down, right? Fasiha. I was saying that are there particular
Yes.
people that you know who to go to that are able to pull you out of that low moment?
Yeah, it also depends on what the nature of that low moment is.
Yes.
So like when it was the thing about what I was wearing, one of the people I went to was my mom, because I was like, maybe she'll probably give me, and it wasn't just my mom, I also spoke to other young women sort of across the spectrum who are both in corporate and in sort of politics, be like, has this ever happened to you? Yes, was the answer to most people. So it was also understanding what the issue is and who to go to, because depending on who you go to, you'll get different pieces of advice. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to go to the same person every time.
And that's what we say about building a village. By the way, this is why in Girls for Girls, we talk about not having one mentor, but we actually have multiple people that you go to. And in the earlier sessions, when we say build a village, the members of that village are there for different reasons. Sometimes it's for moral support, some it's for political, you know, the knowledge as to how to guide yourself and things like that. For me, everything you're saying is reinforcing what we historically have been talking about in this group. So we're going to move on because it's now 3:45. Fasiha, are you able to stay on a little bit longer?
I can stay on a bit longer. I've organized with the next one.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to show the framework. I'm going to put it up, talk through it briefly, and then I think there's a role play by Natasha and Andiswa. They'll do the role play, and then we're going to analyze. We're going to try and apply that framework. So here is. So when you're faced with a moral dilemma, there are 3 steps. One is you need to understand the issue. What am I facing? So someone walks up to you and says, "Oh, that dress that you wore was absolutely not right." So it's to go through that process of saying, what is actually happening here? Is it really about the dress, or is it something else that they're attacking me for? So understand what the issue is. Step 2, or the moral dilemma of the framework, is to examine the different options that are available to you. So Fasiha, sorry, I'm tired. Fasiha could have been agitated and just said to the lady, "Don't talk to me." Or she could have listened to the lady and said, "What is it? What is happening over here?" And could even have clarified with her. Step 3 is evaluating the outcomes of your decision. So if Fasiha had been rude to the lady who came and said to her, "Don't you ever wear the short dress again, it's not befitting to bring to parliament and legislature." If she had been rude to her, what could be the outcomes? 1, she could have burnt a bridge with a potential ally. She could also gain maybe a reputation for being a nasty young lady. But if she had taken the option of let me listen to her and hear what it is that she's really trying to say to me, what could have been the outcomes? The outcomes could have been that as she engaged with the lady, maybe she would have helped this older lady see that there's really nothing wrong with wearing a dress that does not have sleeves. Maybe it could also be that it's allowing Fasiha to get into this lady's head and really understand, you know, kind of like, what are the dynamics that I tend to face whenever I'm dealing with older people. But of course, one of the good outcomes would have been that she could have been respectful and not have burnt a bridge. The point is that there are always options. There are always options. So for every issue that you face, every moral dilemma that you face, what are the different options that you can undertake? And there are many. And that's why you have allies or a village to go and say, what are these different options? And for each of those options, you need to say to yourself, if I go with option A, what is the outcome? If I go with option B, what is the outcome? The reason assessing the outcomes is important is because it allows you to see what the long-term effect is going to be of the decision that you ultimately take. So that is the theoretical part of it. So now we are going to try and put it into practice. I took a dilemma that Fasiha gave us, and I tried to show it in practice. But let me now hand it over to Natasha and Andiswa to take it over. Andiswa, you're on mute. Huh? Okay, perfect. So lay the scene for us. We are your students now.
We're not laying the scene, but you can feedback, please. It's very serious here. It's an Oscar-worthy winning performance. Great. Where's Andisha? Okay, I can see her.
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Hi, Andisha. How are you?
Hi, friend. How are you doing? I'm good. I'm good. And how are you?
I'm good. I haven't really, seen you in a while. Every day after school, you rush off really quickly and you look really sad in class. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just that I've been dealing with a lot at home. My mom is very, very sick, and I've just have to take care of her and make sure that everything is okay at home.
I'm so sorry. I know, you've been dealing with this a lot. How is your mom doing?
She's getting better. It's just that we've been struggling a little bit financially with dad being a priest. We don't make enough money at home, so yeah.
Are you guys on medical aid? Oh.
No, unfortunately, we're not on medical aid. Yeah.
So how have you been managing to pay for her doctor's bills and things?
I decided to work part-time after
that's
school.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is that where you rush to every day? Because I haven't really seen you, and even at break time, you don't really sit with me anymore.
To be honest with you, Natasha, Tembi has been threatening me via Facebook. So yeah, I've been dealing with a lot, really.
Tembi in our English class?
Yes, Tembi. So to be honest with you, she saw me with Josh from the Pretty Boys gang, and she took a picture of us when we were cozy, and she's been threatening to show it to the whole school.
Wait. You're dating Josh from the Pretty Boys gang?
Yeah, I had no choice because I had to find a way to help at home with my mom being sick and everything.
You're dating a gangster, a known drug dealer. I don't understand.
I had no choice.
Josh has been giving you money for your mother's medical bills.
Yes, he has.
And now Tembi is bullying you on Facebook. What is she saying to you?
She's been sending me some threatening messages telling me that I'm a prefect and I shouldn't be doing what I do, but I don't have a choice. And now I'm really scared because she's going to post pictures about me. I'm really worried.
Friend, you can't let these pictures come up. Your father's the priest. He's so important. You're a prefect at school. What will happen if these pictures come up? You're meant to be, a leader at school, and your father's so important. Your poor mother. What will this do to her if she finds out?
I really don't know what to do, and I just told you now, and I was just hoping you could maybe help me with what I need to do with this situation.
Look, the way I see it, there are a few options, maybe, that you have. I guess you could speak to Josh, although I don't really like you with him, but you could speak to him, and, he is known for doing bad things. Maybe he can, I don't know, have Tembi threatened a little so that she doesn't keep threatening you. Or maybe he could pay her off. I mean, if he's willing to give you money and things, maybe he could give her money and things. But I mean, you're a good Christian girl. Shouldn't you just come to your parents and be honest and share your story and tell them what happened?
Yeah, I'll just give it some thought and just see what I do about this situation. Thank you, friend.
And scene. Thank you. I told you, Oscar.
And the Oscar goes to? You guys, you never disappoint, huh? Thank you so much. So now we need to define what that ethical. Remember, step one is let us understand the issue. So we really need for the mentees to now start speaking up. What is the issue here? What is the moral dilemma? How do we understand the issue? What is happening here? Ntebogang, Jabulile, Shireen, please unmute yourselves. Tahira, Tlalefo. There's some people we have not heard from at all. Lemiz. Kylie, you want to say something? What is the problem here? What is the problem? What is her name, Andiswa?
Her name is Andiswa.
Oh.
My name is Andiswa.
What is the problem Andiswa is facing? What's the dilemma here? Remember, you're all on mute. Huh? Innocentia, you've been silent today. Kylie? Yeah. I'm actually going to wait you guys out because then we're wasting our time. We've really made an effort. Natasha and Andiswa spent a lot of time together. Innocentia, you want to say something?
Can I say something? I'm not so sure if it might make sense. I think Andiswa was quite under pressure. That's the reason why she dated a gangster. But from my side, I think she could have maybe spoke to a close friend or spoke to some of her family members and asked for help instead of dating a gangster.
Okay, so what's the dilemma? The problem, what is the problem? We need to be able to specify what the problem is. What was the problem?
Okay, isn't it since the mom is sick? That's the problem.
Sorry?
The problem is that her mom is sick.
The mom is sick and?
Yeah. I don't know the other one.
No, you see the problem needs to come out. The mom is sick, that's one fact. What else? What
she
else?
She doesn't have money.
She doesn't have money. She doesn't have money and they don't have, Natasha asked her, medical aid, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, the medical aid.
So it's important that you fully describe the issue. You can't just say the mom is sick. The mom is sick, so what? Yeah, the mom is sick and she doesn't have medical aid and she doesn't have money. Okay, so that's the problem. Yeah, that's step one. Remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What is step two? Step two, we said identify the options. So in Essentia, you already started giving us options. She could have spoken to
a close friend or some of her family members.
For what? Because again, finish the idea. What type of help?
Getting a mom to hospital.
But the issue,
buy her medicine.
To get the money for the medicine. You have to complete the thought process. It is not that simple. You really have to go deep. So she could have spoken to a friend or family to get money for the mother to go to the hospital. So that's one option. Thank you very much. Someone just keep track of that. Any other option? Sorry, Innocentia, I put you under pressure, but you've delivered. Tebogang, I know you're taken off your microphone at one point in time. Any other option, guys? May I welcome the mentors?
Oh, okay, just to add, I think she could start a fundraising or start just a small business to raise money in order to take her mom to the clinic or hospital.
Okay, very good. I was not even thinking in that direction, but you're right. In today's age, you can actually do a fundraising even online, right?
Crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. Thank you very much, niece of mine, who always gets my terminology right.
And I think Andiswa was also scared that her reputation would be ruined since she was dating a gangster.
Is that an option? We are still talking options.
Yeah, I think it's an option.
Okay, what is the option? What are we saying is the option? The mother is sick, she has no money. What is that option related to the gangster?
Oh, sorry.
No, but I love what you're doing. It shows that, you know, even sometimes you can think, okay, that's not a point. This is exactly how your mind is going to work. Very good. I'm really impressed with you, Innocentia. Ntebogang added, really good addition. Any other idea from any of the girls?
So can I ask the girls a question? Perhaps? Oh,
sorry, can I add?
Yeah.
Considering their belief, their spiritual belief, they could, like, you know, put their belief into practice, you know, since they are Christians, they could pray about it. How about that?
Okay, but remember what the dilemma is. What is the dilemma? The mom is sick. She needs to get to the hospital. She needs money.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so for me, I'm just trying to be practical. I know prayer is really good. It's what we do, but we're looking for practical solutions. Huh?
All right.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have at least 2 solutions. Do the mentors want to add a third solution?
I mean, I also gave some solutions. They might not be morally and ethically viable, but they're still solutions.
So give them to us again. It's very true.
So I said that Josh, the leader of the Pretty Boys, yes, he could pay off Tembi, the bully, or he could alternatively resort to some violence to threaten Tembi into keeping quiet.
Okay. But wait, Natasha, those are options to a different problem.
Fair.
Yeah, because the problem I think that you're, and this is why it's important again.
Really obvious. There's a really obvious one, right? And Andiswa said it. What was the lie Andiswa said to me initially? What did she say she was doing to get money?
Anyway. I said I'm working part-time, actually.
So then what is it?
So I opened up.
That's an actual option. Actually, a job.
Yeah. So option number is it? It's number 3. Yeah? Number
3, 4.
It's number 3 because the one that Natasha mentioned in the first place.
For the bullying aspect.
Yes, so that would be a different issue. It's if we had started off with the fact that she has a moral dilemma about going on Facebook. And I think it's good, Natasha, that you've raised it, that in a situation, there are multiple issues. There are different issues. So you've actually identified a second issue, yeah? But for now, let's stay focused on the first issue, which is someone's mother, Andiswa's mother is sick. They have no money, they have no medical aid. Yeah. So the 3 options we have: ask for funding, ask for money from friends or family. Option 2, crowdfunding. Option 3 is part-time job, right? Yeah. Anyone else? Any other solution?
Yes, she can take her mom to a public hospital where they don't need to pay.
There we go. So the big lesson here is that there are always options. There are always options. Okay. Can we move to stage 3 now, where we are now going to assess each of these options, and I'm going to go around to the people that mentioned them. So Innocentia, what is the effect of asking friends or family for money? What could be the outcomes? Let me help you. Let me go with the first one. So one is that they might decide that they don't want to give you the money, and they start gossiping about how that family is so broke. You don't have any money. That's a negative outcome. Okay? What could be a positive outcome? We need to think creatively.
They could give money.
Lemiz?
They could give her money and expect more money in return.
Exactly. Yeah, so you're right that they could give the money, but now the family owes them, isn't it? in one way or another, okay? And this is why you need to think long-term, that the short-term win is that you're getting the money, okay? But you, in the long term, you don't know what you're now going to owe them, yeah? Very insightful.
Yes.
Very insightful, okay? So that is the way you then decide. So if you, for instance, feel, okay, we might get the money, but then we don't know what they're now going to ask us to do, then you might decide to get rid of that option, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to option 2, crowdfunding. Tebo Khan, what could the outcome be?
As for funding, like they might not generate enough money.
Might not generate enough money, okay, and it might take a lot of effort, and you could have talked to someone and gotten the money faster, okay? It might take a lot of, any other option that you see coming out? They might not want to talk about the disease that the mother has, and when you do crowdfunding, you really have to go, you have to be open and honest with information.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is all.
Could that be an outcome? I'm hoping my mentors now can play with me. I'm really working hard over here. But are the mentees, are you beginning to see how for each option you evaluate the different outcomes? Yeah. Let's try the part-time job. What if Andiswa was to take on a part-time job? What are the potential outcomes out of it? And Andiswa, you can.
What if she gets a lot of schoolwork? How will she go to the job?
Yeah, you're the one who cares about your schoolwork. Eh? So the part-time job, what you're saying, okay, let me, you're saying the part-time job might eat away at the school hours, right?
Yes.
You see, Lamis knows her values. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that one. That's a good point today. Huh? Another option that could come out of the part-time job. Have we lost Andiswa? How much money were they paying you, Andiswa? Is it really a feasible option?
Well, since I'm a student and I don't work enough hours, I don't think they would pay me enough money to support medical bills.
Okay, so that might be a reason why you put that option away, because yes, you can go and work part-time, but you won't be able to make enough money. The last option, Boipuso, you said she could go to a public facility.
Yes, she can go to the public facility where they wouldn't pay for the treatment and medication, but it still doesn't take off the challenge of having some money at home, because even with the mom at the hospital, the family will still need money. So it might go back to option 1, link them together, get family to help, and also with number 2, or add to number 2 to say, if the family doesn't help, can I get work? What else can I do?
I love that. So you're actually saying maybe we do a combination of the options, right? Okay.
Can I offer another possibility here, just in terms of the family's context as well? Andiswa said that the father is a priest, which means that they actually have a community, a church community. This is a man who obviously serves his community, his village, in other words, and how often in front of our eyes. So could the family have approached the faith community to say, my wife, Mam Fundisi, is sick. As you know, as a priest in service, I don't really have a lot of money. Can the community rally around us? So Andiswa got herself into a very desperate situation. And yet, even with crowdfunding, the crowdfunding could have happened right in that parish, right in that church. So how often in your own space do you look outside for help, for support, when it's right there at your door? So there's another option that Andiswa could have taken with her family.
Absolutely.
Right? How often do you look? Here's another example here. How often do you as mentees feel like you're stuck because nobody understands you? You might say, I don't have a big sister, I don't. And yet here we are in this very circle. We are your community. So look right where you are for the help that you need.
Okay. Okay. Does it make sense to the mentees? We've gone through the process. Innocentia is clapping, which means she understands it. Kylie has given the thumbs up. Okay, Shireen, Lemiz, all of them approve. So, ladies, that is what we are trying to say, is that when you have a problem, think through the problem, understand what the problem is, and then ask yourself, what are the options? And when you're assessing what the options are, you don't have to be alone. You can go and talk to people who you can think through problems with. Just like Andiswa went and discussed options with her friend Natasha. And for each of those options, always remember to ask yourself, what could the good thing be that is coming out? What could the bad thing be? Evaluate it, not in the short term, but in the long term. And if you start practicing that behavior, where you always understand the issue, identify the options, assess what the outcomes are, it is a very good process for you to learn in life. When you meet a work dilemma, when you meet a political dilemma like Fasiha, when you meet a friend dilemma, or a boyfriend dilemma, he's asking you to send those nude pictures, you should be able to work through that framework. Any questions, any comments? Because we are then getting ready to close. Yeah. Any of the mentors want to say anything else? Want to add? No? We're good? Okay. Welcome, Violet. Thank you. We know you're under a lot of stress elsewhere. But yeah, okay. So then that means we really come to the close. And I can't, someone asked about what happened to Tembi. Okay. Why did we not talk about Tembi?
I think someone made a suggestion, Rita, when we said, what about the bully? Because that's part of a problem where Andiswa finds herself. Tembi is threatening to tell the world, basically, on social media, on Facebook.
Is it me or Mabatu? Okay.
Lemise had suggested that perhaps Andiswa could say against, so perhaps, talking to someone older, someone in authority to help out if possible.
Okay, okay. But the point about Tembi is that it's a different issue, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That is an issue around going out with a gangster. Yeah. And then someone threatening to publicize it. It's a different issue, right? So in other words, we would start the process all over again. We would start with understand what the issue is, examine what the options are, and then assess the outcomes of each of those ones. So it was actually a very good case study that Andiswa and Natasha gave us. There were multiple issues in there. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Boy Puso?
I see it as the home issue was the real problem that caused a moral dilemma for Andiswa.
Right.
I think if it wasn't for the issue at home, Andiswa wouldn't have involved herself with Tembi.
Yes.
Not Tembi, with the gangster. And Tembi wouldn't have been on her case.
Yeah. So Innocentia, who is asking about Innocentia and Jabulile? Do you want to go through that problem again? You want to resolve that issue? I'm waiting for a response.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. I think well, I guess it's a bit tricky. But Tembi is blackmailing her, and I think blackmail should be considered, if it's not like a criminal or civil offense, I think it should be getting Tembi in some sort of trouble. And I think that Andiswa should definitely confront Tembi and confront people of higher...
Wait, you're going very quickly, Jabulile. So what we're saying here, we're starting the process again. So the issue we're identifying here, there's a form of blackmail that's happening, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the, so what are the options that one would consider to get out of this blackmail?
I think definitely to report her to some sort of authority, or just make her aware that you're willing to report her. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one option. Take us through to evaluating that option. So if she reports her, what could happen?
I think depending on where she report, if she was to report with the school, she might have to disclose what it is that's really happening, and I think it would put her being a prefect in jeopardy. But I think that's what ethics really is. It's about challenging. It's about making important decisions. Is it more important for you not to feel constantly threatened, or is it more important for you to keep a certain position and have it lost anyway? So if she reports, she might lose being a prefect, but if she's exposed, for lack of a better term, she could lose being a prefect anyway. So I think it's better to just consider that self-sacrifice than this thing that she's holding on to.
You've nailed it. You're good. You've gotten it. Yeah, well done. I'm looking for my little reaction to say, well done, well done. You've understood it. And I think that's why it's always good to play these games when we ask you to engage, because just by going through it, Jabulile, I think you've demonstrated that you really get it. You're able to now think through what the options are and what the outcomes are. And I love your wisdom, whereby you're not running away and looking for the easiest decision. You're actually assessing them all the way through to the end. So thank you for that. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. So we're good, right? We've resolved two issues. Yeah. Thanks a million. Okay, this is happy. Jabulile is also happy. So that brings us to the close of session 6 about ethics and values. And please hold on to the framework. It's in your notebook. If you need any more information, you come back to us. You let us know, but try and apply those things in your lives, because that is what is going to help you take you forward. I see a note from Fasiha saying she has to leave at 4:30. Fasiha, anything you want to say?
Look, I think the girls really did well in sort of identifying the different issues, and to always, I think, bounce ideas off people, and also to be kind to yourself. I think we live in a world that seeks to be very harsh, not just generally, but also to women in particular. So to also just sometimes take a moment and, do things that are healthy and comfortable, things that we want to do. But other than the exercise, I think it was very well done.
And it's a complex exercise. This thing can actually be done with like some of your co-politicians, where you actually think through to the end. So
in fact, we probably should do it with some of my colleagues and politicians. They might, benefit from it.
Absolutely, because you steal the money, you get a short-term gain, you have your Porsche, you smash it, you buy the next one, you know who I'm talking about. But really, what have you done for your people? You break an entire bank. Anyway, yeah. It's definitely something that if Alan, the founder of Girls for Girls, was here, one of the founders, she's the African founder, if she was here, she'd tell you that for her, this is the one session that really resonates with her. And as Africans, it's something that we really need to address. And that's why to the mentees, we say, make it a part of your life, where you're always continuously saying, what is my value system? And then assess what the issue is, assess what the options are, and then identify what the outcomes are, and then make the decision, which should be based on your values. So thank you, Fasiha, for that as well. Yeah. Okay, if there is any other closing statements on session 6, otherwise we close and we proceed to the graduation ceremony. No? So we can close it, we celebrate it, okay? Well done, okay, thanks a lot. Fasiha, stay with us as long as you can, and then, yeah, you can go. So as we go into—
I'll also just share my social media details if anyone wants to pick up the conversation later as well.
Thanks a million, that would be fantastic. Okay. So as we go into the graduation session, Violet, are you able to do it, or you want Val to do it? Are you able to do it?
Violet, let's do it.
Okay.
I'm here, but there's still movement. But I hope I want to be disturbed. But if anything comes, please carry on.
Okay. Okay. So everyone, just to I think it's only fair, Violet, that we explain to people what has happened. THMC, is it okay?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay, so THMC, which actually hosts this this group of G4G girls, Westbury is underneath them, but there are a couple of girls from other places, but it's hosted by THMC, was broken into twice, 2 nights in succession.
What?
Yeah, so that's why Violet has come late. It's even amazing that she has still been able to come here. So I think you're sitting at the office, Violet, right?
Yes, I'm here with the police taking fingerprints. So I just had to come and, finish the session.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Thank you for coming. So what I'm going to do now is play a little bit of a reminder of where we've come from, and then we shall proceed into the formal certificate allocation. Okay, so that is
Yay! That was amazing.
I know,
it's so happy and joyful.
I know. I know, it's like you really, for me, it's going back to the pre-COVID days. Huh? I mean, that first time we were holding, we were touching each other, we were sitting in the circles. So Fasiha, just to help you understand, we typically, when we do the analysis, like what we did around the framework, we normally break circles. But we are so few because not all the girls could get onto online sessions. So we ended up with a smaller group than the 4 groups that you saw, you know, from day number 1. So the girls who are here today are survivors. They you know, they have kind of like battled. You see, a lot of them don't even have videos on, but they just make sure that they're here, they pitch up. Network might be bad, they get checked out, they come back in. So, you know, kudos to all of you who have done your best to make sure that you stay and complete the program. So thank you very, very much for that. So I'm going to hand it over. You want to say something, Boy Puso? Or you're still doing okay. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint slide which Violet is going to go through, and it is now the award time. 1 minute.
Can I just say that all you girls will get your individual certificates emailed to you after the session? Everybody.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yes. And hopefully, after the COVID, we can arrange, you know, something small, you know, just to come around, have some tea, coffee, and juice, and hand them over to the girls. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go, Violet. And the first certificate goes to?
Kapulile Simelani.
Yay!
Thank
you. Go Kali!
Dabukhang!
Woo! Yeah!
Tahira, bye!
Woo!
Yes. And Limes, I think you jumped in the maze.
Go Limes!
And Katla, unfortunately, I think she had data problems today. But anyway,
woo!
Well done, ladies. Limes, yes.
So these are the ones who came, Violet, you need to explain the ones who are getting certificates, what it is that qualifies them to get certificates.
And please let us know if your surnames. Sorry, Rita.
I was saying, please explain what enabled people to earn the certificates.
Okay, so we looked at least people who attended for at least four sessions. So if you did not, you know, attend about 4 sessions, then you did not qualify. It will not be fair for us to say you fully benefited from the program. But of course, we will recognize those also who did not complete the full program. If they want to continue maybe and join next year, we'll definitely communicate that in future with them.
Okay. And everyone gets the t-shirt, right?
Yes, we are all going to get your t-shirts. So I will ask you guys, you know, your addresses, and we can try and see if we can arrange to bring them to your places, or we'll see how we can make it happen.
Okay. Okay. And we would also like to recognize the mentors, right?
Yes.
Right. There was one more person. There was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go Talifo!
Yes. So we actually have, I I think 8 girls that graduate.
Well done, well done.
Well done. Okay. And so similarly, Violet?
Now mentors. The same way we looked at mentors who at least attended 4 sessions of the program. Let's go. Andy Sabkona.
Thank you.
Well done.
Wabusa, yay!
Woo!
Karima!
Woo! Go, Karima!
And then,
Tini, how many certificates do you need? Tini!
Overachiever.
Go, Mabatu! Go, Natasha! Woo, woo.
Oh, and tell me saying something.
Listen, Tavi, unfortunately, she could not make it, but I'll make sure that she also gets it.
Yes. And then I think from here on, I take over.
Woo!
Yay!
Go, Violet! Woo!
Yay! Thank you so much.
Isn't Rita getting?
Yeah?
Did I miss Rita's certificate?
Sorry.
You know the problem when you give out certificates, you don't earn the certificates. But I think maybe we can do one and all of you can sign it for me. Yeah, all 6. As a country team leader, it's a little bit awkward that, you know, that I give my certificate. So maybe we'll get, when we do meet, it's a good idea. We'll get a
Alan can sign it.
Yes, everyone is going to sign it so that you validate.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think for the mentees, does anyone want to say anything? So feel free to put down whatever you'd like to in the chat box. But for now, I think I'd like to go around to the different mentors and ask, you know, this is our last time to be with the girls. What are the final messages, the final things that you would like to say to them? And I'm just going to randomly pick. I'll start with Mabatu.
Great. Thanks, Rita. So allow me to tell a very quick story. When I was 7 years old, my aunt Manana, who was also my godmother, took me along with her to a prayer meeting with other women. She was a member of the Methodist Church, and she was also in the Mothers Union. And you would see them with their red jackets and black skirts and the white collars and hats. And so one Sunday she took me to this meeting where the women gathered to come and pray and intercede for different things. And I was little, I was a very tiny child. And as they were in this room and they knelt down to start praying, I stood very quietly in the corner trying to be inconspicuous. And then suddenly one of the women said to me, she basically said, come sister, you are one of us, come and pray with us. And that for me was the first time in my life I knew what it was to belong to a circle of sisters. They were all, of course, much older women, but they made me feel included. They made me see the power of women coming together. So yes, theirs was in a religious context, but throughout my entire life, in workspaces, in the communities where I've lived and have been engaged, I always say, where are the women? And I always want to be part of a circle. So my takeaway, and the reason I'm telling you this story, mentees, is that remember that you are part of a powerful circle of women here. More than that, I think what we have tried to give you is a sense that wherever you find yourself, be a woman's woman. Pull other women up with you wherever you go. It has been a huge privilege to be part of this community. Thank you for opening up to us, for being vulnerable with us, for sharing your stories with us. I certainly don't take it for granted. What an honor and a privilege it has been. And I hold the space as one that is sacred. I hold everything that you have shared with us as something that is sacred. I know we're ending this particular cohort and the sessions, but I'm opening myself up to you, an open invitation. You know where to find me. I'll always be available for you. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mavatu. Thank you so much. Boipuso. You're on mute, Boipuso.
Okay, to our mentees, you are our seats of great, sorry, I wrote it down so that I don't mess it up. You are seeds of greatness waiting to be germinated. And thank you for choosing G4G to be part of your life journey. We really appreciate it. And hopefully one day when we read books, we will see authors like Innocentia, Kylie, Lemise, Ndeboheng, and we will read somewhere in those pages about your journey with G4G. All the best and good luck with your studies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boipuso. Who is next on my line? Valerie.
Ladies and girls, I just want to say two things. You are the second South African G4G cohort to graduate. And you know that is a huge, huge thing because you were also the first cohort to go online. And we learned everything about going online from you guys, to the point where we actually held a webinar last night with 350 people and Miss Universe, because we learned the skills from the THMC.
Yes.
So I just want to say that you are all absolutely phenomenal. I've been so impressed by you. I've loved your posts, in essentially your beautiful poem when you won the prize. We still got to get your book to you. I don't know if we've managed to do that yet. We're still going to do that. But what I hope to see is that you're all going to join our alumni and that you will continue to be mentors in the future. And that because you are such a critical part of our group of inspiring and beautiful young women, you are going to be the leaders of our future. You are going to be those courageous leaders in your communities, with whether it's your family, whether it's your school friends, whether it's anyone you meet on the street. Please go forth and be leaders, because we need you. This country needs you. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. That's really, and you've stolen part of what I was going to talk about, so I don't know what I'm going to say. But the fact about the online, you really have opened the doors, not just even for this G4G community. I think every other G4G group yesterday saw how to host what an online session is, and it started here. So well said, Val. Okay, Andiswa.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay. I'm here. So a few years back, I think it was 5 years back, I made a poster and I cut out pictures of women that I actually really admire. And I just want to tell our girls that it's so important for you to have visions for yourself. It's so important for you to imagine what you want to be, because whatever you imagine of yourself, you'll definitely become that. And it hasn't been easy. I know it's been tough on you guys to be online, but thank you so much for being patient with us and being part of this journey with us. We don't take that for granted, and we will always be here for you. This is not the end, actually. Yeah.
Well said, well said. And I think extra special thanks to Andiswa for all the collaboration. Andiswa has been the bridge between the mentors and the mentees. So actually extra special thanks to Andiswa for the brilliant work that she has done. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's, Kinelwe, you're next.
Okay, so where do I start? I didn't start with you, actually, so I wasn't at your first session, so I never actually got to meet you guys physically, which is weird. But I met you online. We've had discussions in the WhatsApp group. it's been quite a journey, and I want to applaud your effort in coming. You know, when you drop out, you come back in. You never gave up, and you always came back. And I think that's something that you should take in life. You know, no matter what happens, what obstacles you face, continue trying. Never give up. There's small lessons here, and one day you'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, I learned that in Girls for Girls online. That I think you will take forward. And I do want to say well done and thank you to Andisa. You did a fantastic job with the mentees. That video of how to use Zoom, we are using it everywhere. We're even sending it to mentors.
No, we're sending it to the rest of Africa. The rest of Africa are not using it.
So well done, Andisa.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Kini. Well said. And yeah, thank you for your dedication as well, coming and joining, because your cohort did not go online, the Afternoon Girls. So thank you for making the time to come and join us. Natasha, we're on the young people now. Natasha, go for it.
Thanks for saying I'm young. Always. This has been so much fun. I'm so glad I was a part of this. I wish we could have been in person, but I think it's incredible, and it bears testament to the G4G principles that you don't give up and you just find another way to do things. So well done to all of you, mentors, mentees, Rita, who never gets a certificate, everyone who has managed to figure out a way to make this work. What I want to say is that everything we've tried to teach you and you've learned or whatever, I want you to be gentle with yourselves going forward. No one expects you to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel sad. You're going to be in hard, difficult places. But if you keep practicing the lessons you've learned here and refer to your handbooks every now and again, you know, you will find answers, and you do have an amazing now village of all of us that you can turn to in difficult situations. So don't be hard on yourself, but all you can do is try. Keep trying, keep figuring things out, keep applying things, and you will be great. And role play with your friends if you need to figure things out, because you will eventually come to the answers that suit you. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Natasha. And I agree with you. Be gentle. None of us, even we, the mentors who go through these sessions with you, we learn. Each time we go through these sessions, we learn. So it's a gradual process. You won't know everything in one day, even in 1 year. So be gentle with yourself, okay?
Even in one lifetime, you know, you learn constantly every day as you grow. So there's no point expecting for you to have figured everything out. So just enjoy learning it all.
Yes. The next is Karima. Karima, are you there, Karima?
I'm here.
Okay.
All the mentors have really captured very well what I wanted to say, but I would just like to add that I'm so excited to see what you all achieve in your lives. I think there's a lot to come from all of you ladies, and as Kenny said, you've just shown us your resilience by trying to keep coming back onto the calls, and I know it's been a mission for some of you to just, even though you're connecting from home, just to connect has been a challenge. So thank you for making it, and thank you for sharing and for being here with us.
Thank you, Karima. Thank you. And then we have Violet.
Oh, yeah. This has been such a journey. You know, there were times when I thought it's not possible. But when I thought of those beautiful faces and thinking, no, I cannot afford to disappoint them. And we have such amazing people from G4G SA office who constantly journey. And just after our we thought, oh my God, this is it. Then Rita said, let's try and see if it's possible with the online. And we did not know, to be honest, what we were getting ourselves into. But we had strong young women who were willing to, to learn and who wanted to make this work. As much as we wanted to help you as mentors, we had mentors who sacrificed their time, their money, to make sure that, you guys, are empowered as much as possible. Then the SA office arranged several meetings to make sure that, this actually happens. And we actually found ourselves running our first online session, which went quite very well. I remember the very first one, when we were learning about Zoom. Some of you, we didn't even know how, the Zoom etiquette. I remember some of you laughing, as and looking at each other. Yeah, there's Innocentia. It was such a lovely moment. And really, I have no words to say thank you moment. I think we already touched on, the moment when we had to go online and we had to announce to the G4G South Africa that THMC is doing online, and others were also like, okay, let's try and see. And we had, last month, there was that competition for youth. Guess who won? The very same team. We are so proud of you ladies. It hasn't been easy. We know you have a lot of work at home. Your parents are also, I'm sure, at times complaining, what are you doing with these people online? But you pushed it through. You made sure that, you take as much as you can from these powerful women. And I want to say to you, we are here. All of them, they said they are available. They are your village. They are your resources. We just heard from Fasiha now, also sharing how, even in the government, in the leadership roles, how they are struggling, how as a young woman, she thinks there's so much to do. We are doing this so that you can take up those positions. We want you to change things. We need you to start taking up these positions. I wish personally, and some of the mentors on this platform, that we had this opportunity. Maybe I would be a president of America, who knows, or of South Africa. And we want you ladies to never look back. I saw Zosie yesterday. I mean, where would I have seen that person, like feeling like I'm in the same room with her? It was such amazing. And I'm sure you are never going to stop talking about G4G. Next time, we want to have G4G either at the school or in your community, and we will be available to be there to support you. We want you now to take this opportunity to run with this opportunity. Make sure that you uplift as many girls as you can. The school is now expecting to see different people. Things that you used to do, now the principal, Ms. Jacobs, they are now looking at you as different people, and I'm sure that you are totally different and you're going to lead in different style. And the last words that I want to say, please carry with you the spirit of humility. As women, wherever we go, no matter where we are, humility is what drives us. No matter where you will find yourself in life, remember that you are there to serve people much. And I can't wait to see you, hopefully, in the near future. Let's just pray that this COVID is over and we'll be in this room again, celebrating and having good time as we started. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million. And you remember we were supposed, COVID really messed us up. We were supposed to have movie afternoon with the bride, yeah? We were supposed to get together. Yeah. We were supposed to watch Queen of Katwe to see what a courageous leader behaves like. And we were going to have a bride. So we will deliver on it. Even if it's not in 2020, we will definitely do it in 2021. So I think all the mentors have spoken. Am I right? I think I'm the last one.
Yes.
I think it's been very well wrapped up by all the mentors who have spoken ahead of me. A couple of things. One, I want to remind you, leaders are not born, they are made. They're not born, they're made. Each of you is powerful. Each of you is capable of doing great things. The women that we have brought to share stories with you, whether it was Amonge, whether it was Fasiha today, you can even be greater. I want you to take those words with you tonight and sleep with them. It is not words we are speaking. You can be. And we will always be there to support you. The concept of village, if there's one word you can continue to let ring in your head, it's village. You're never alone. From here, you never walk alone. And anytime you're looking for, you must never feel helpless. Anytime you're thinking, who can help me? We are so different. Natasha will give you different advice. Valerie will give you different advice. Violet, Rita. I hope you will hear our voices. Mabatu's gentle voice, Violet's calm, motherly voice, and the different messages we give. For me, all the women who have been mentors in my life, anytime I have a problem, I ask myself, what would Nightingale say? What would Robalo say? Yesterday at the webinar was a Minister of Health from Guinea-Bissau. She's one of my mentors. Wow. These relationships do not end, just because you're together. I haven't seen that woman in about 5 years. But when I told her what we were doing, she said, it's women. Rita, I'm there. She Facebooked it, she did everything. That is the commitment we're giving to you, that we will always be there for you. But you have to be able to reach out and ask and say, Ma'am Violet, please help me think through this. So my final parting words to you, which I told you, I always say to my daughter, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. No one must ever tell you that you are not important. You are. And if you ever need to remember that, you come to us because we will remind you. And we're going to share the videos with you so that you can always hold the memories. So it is farewell, but not bye forever. Thank you so much for everything you are to us. The lessons you have taught us on the online, I think the different languages, for me, I've had a schooling in terms of being patient because this online communication is so complicated. I had to remember what it's like to deal with teenage girls. So thank you for everything. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. God bless. And thank you so, so, so much. All the best, yeah?
Wait.
So the certificate. Diego? Someone was saying something.
Can we play Miss Jacob's message just before switch off?
Oh, okay.
Yes, can we play Miss Jacob's thank you message to the mentors? You have it there.
Yes, give me a second. And I will ask Boypuso to also get ready with our play out song, which she knows. Today we're going to borrow it from UJ. So while you look for that, my phone is also misbehaving today. Okay. Looking for THMC. Okay. It was posted on the mentors group, right?
Ms. Jacobs is there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for it.
On the coordinating team. I can forward quickly.
Is it on coordinating team? If you can just forward it to me now, I'll play it now.
Yes.
Because I'm struggling to receive it.
Okay.
Let me know when you've sent it.
Do you want us to stay after? Again, I'm not going anywhere. It's just a question.
We could do that.
I have many plans, COVID keeps me so busy. Couch, kitchen, good grief.
Violet, have you sent it?
Yes, I've sent it. It's shown now.
I can play from my phone. We should be able to hear from my phone. Should I do that?
No, it has just come. It has just come through.
Good afternoon to the Girls for Girls, mentors and me. Although we are not physically together during this difficult time, I am pleased to have the opportunity to engage with you once again. I am so proud of how much all of you have grown into such phenomenal young women. Reflecting back on our very first session, we were introduced to these timid and frail young girls. Through this mentorship program, you have blossomed into strong and courageous leaders who will in the future master the art of communication and negotiation and become experts in the field of public service and running for office. I am confident that each of you will be able to successfully make moral choices and decisions in the near future. To the mentors, on behalf of the principal and staff, thank you for giving Westbury Secondary School the opportunity to partake in the Girls for Girls Mentorship Program 2020. Thank you for laying down the foundation for these young girls to grow into successful young women and leaders that they are, where they will bring about change within our school and their community. I hope that we will be able to continue to work together in shaping the lives of so many more young women. To the girls, well done once again. Enjoy your graduation. Stay safe and mask up. Thank you.
I like that, masked up. I was trying to listen to Fasiha also sent a message, but I'll share it with the mentors. She's also said she really enjoyed the session. I'll share the message with everyone. So guys, this is it, man. It's nice to see. Yeah, it's so nice to see. Thank you for putting your pictures up, Kylie and Sentia. It is, yeah. We'll see you guys again. Yeah. I can see Jabulile too.
Yeah. We want to see Tebogang, Kylie.
I think we can take a photo.
I'm trying. I would love to take that picture.
Everyone needs to turn their cameras on.
Yes.
For once.
Yeah.
Tebogang, Lemise, Karima, Andiswa, you all have to turn.
Yes, lovely.
Kylie's for some reason on twice.
Oh, okay. Maybe she logged on. Okay, is everyone there?
No.
Okay, are we good to go?
And this way. And this way, what happened?
Where is she?
There's someone who is moving around. And this way is here.
Andis was there.
There's someone who is moving around. Okay. Okay, last one. Hey. You can do let me do the last one and you can all do the celebration. Yeah, the clicking. They always looks nice. Lovely. Thank you very much. And Madame Boypuso, you can play the We Are Family as we head out. Thank you so much, ladies. Let's ask the mentor. Thank you so much. Oh yes, I can see Tahira there now. Oh, wait a moment. We have to do it once again because now I see one more time, one more time.
Yes, I'm so confused.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much, Tahira. Thanks a million. Take care, everybody.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.